Joining us now from here in Istanbul is Mustafa Caner. He's an assistant professor of Iranian Studies at Sakarya University. Really good to have you with us, Mustafa. The Israeli military says Iran has already responded, initially at least, deploying at least 100 drones towards Israel. There are reports that Israel has managed to shoot a number of them down. Tell us, are you anticipating a bigger response from the Iranians in the wake of the Israeli attack?
Thank you for having me. I think this is a major blow for Iran. Iran has lost many key military and political figures, and just replacing them will create a continuity problem during this kind of war. Iran's air force is extremely weak. It cannot effectively counter enemy warplanes. We saw that. And there is also major intelligence and security vulnerability exposed here. Iran, as you said, fired hundreds of drones, and it is reported that these drones are intercepted by Israeli, British, and US forces. We are not very sure about the credibility of these reports, but I don't think that Iran's response will be limited only with this drone attack. I think Iran will fire additional hundreds of thousands of drones because, as I said, this is a major blow for Iran. It has lost its chief of staff of army. It has lost IRGC commander. It has lost someone like Ali Shemkhani, who has been at very critical positions for so long, at least 3 decades, at the heart of the establishment. And people like Shemkhani, the loss of this kind of people, in addition to him, nuclear scientists, these are very important, significant losses for Iran. So Iran has to retaliate forcefully, impactfully. And I don't think this will be limited today. We are at the very beginning of a very long war, and the course of war will be determined by both Iran's reaction and US intervention. Nuclear negotiations, I believe, are dead now. Iran needs to respond very strongly to this kind of attack in order to establish deterrence. And there is a possibility that this war spills into other countries. It can turn into a regional war. It can include Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gulf countries, or Jordan. These countries are now in a very dangerous, risky position. So I think we are at the very beginning, and lots of things will determine the course of war. And Iran's reaction, I think it's the most important one in this equation. And by looking at the scope and the effect of Israeli attack, because Israel didn't only target nuclear facilities. Throughout the country, Israel targeted military positions, even civil areas. There are civil casualties. And Iran says that it has every right to defend itself because its sovereignty has been violated. Its territorial integrity has been violated. So by looking at the scope of this attack, Iran feels that it has to retaliate in an impactful way. And by looking at the Israeli announcement from the Israeli side, they are claiming that it will last at least 2 weeks. But I think it can last more than 2 weeks, and Iran's reaction will determine that. Iran first fired drones, and just Iran will fire ballistic missiles just before drones will reach Israel. It's Iran's strategy. And upcoming hours, we will see the picture more, I think, clearly.
Yes.
But as I said, I think that we are at the very beginning of a very long phase.
We heard there the response from the Turkish Foreign Ministry condemning Israel for its actions and calling for de-escalation of the tensions there. What role can countries like Turkey play in this escalation of hostilities?
Expected. Turkey has always been against the violation of any country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And when it comes to Iran, it is expected that Turkey becomes more sensitive than other cases because Iran is Turkey's neighbor for centuries. These two countries are being together in the region, and by looking at their capacity, military, economic, or demographic capacity, we can surely say that these two countries' actions and their behaviors, diplomatic, political, and military behaviors, are two main determinants of the whole region's stability and prosperity. So Israel, by attacking Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity, it also risks Turkey's security. So Turkey views that situation from this viewpoint. Because damaging Iran's national security or territorial integrity is no good for Turkey too. Or likewise, Syria's or Iraq's territorial integrity, protecting these territorial integrities is very essential for Turkey to protect his own territory. So Turkey is against this kind of actions that could create instability or conflict or full-fledged war in the region. So Turkey can step in as a mediator, a diplomatic force, like it did in other cases in Middle East or Africa or South Caucasus or Russia-Ukraine war cases. Turkey can again step in and act as a mediator, and Turkey can make contacts with relevant parties. Firstly, Iran, of course, then the United States, because the US role is very important in this equation. We know that President Donald Trump had been trying to avoid this kind of scenario, but I think ultimately failed, and he couldn't stop Netanyahu and the Israeli lobby. And Turkey can, be function, can make this kind of diplomatic channels function, and also since Turkey has a very unique position in the region, Turkey can talk with many parties: Iran, Syria, Iraq, Gulf countries. Turkey has open channels with all these actors. So Turkey can act as a stabilizer force in the region. Turkey did that in many cases, like I said, from the 1980s during Iran-Iraq war, for example. And other recent examples we could all recall. So I think the main mission of Turkey now, and it did that, condemning Israeli aggression. It is obvious the all sensible actors should do that. Like Saudi Arabia condemned Israeli aggression. Sensible actors inside the United States also, but we have a very strong aggressor, Israel, and the Israeli lobby in the United States. And even this is an aggression, even this is a clear violation of an international law and sovereignty of a nation. Israel, by using Western propaganda machines, uh, serves and present itself as the victim, even in this case, even if it is the aggressor. So it says that it's a preemptive attack, but this is a clear violation of international law. We all know that, and it is seen that Iranian leadership or Iranian decision makers were not expecting this kind of attack. They were all concentrating on nuclear negotiations, and they were expecting some result from nuclear negotiations. And Turkey, in this case, also supported diplomatic solutions like nuclear negotiations. As you know, in Istanbul, Iran and European parties met a couple of weeks ago. Turkey has always been defendant of diplomatic solutions, but Israel just killed that option. Nuclear negotiations are now dead. Iran announced that on Sunday it will not attend the sixth round of nuclear negotiations with the United States. And
Okay.
this negotiations was a product of a very long effort, and now these all
Yes.
efforts are meaningless because of Israel's aggression.
Okay, Mustafa Caner, we will have to leave it there. Great to get your analysis. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.